Hi again then guys, and so we've got another requested tune for you today, and this time it's another Sleeper Spec build, as you'll have seen of course from the title. And this Sleeper Spec build was requested for the Lancia Delta. Now, for any who are new to this series, basically what we do in Sleeper Spec is we take a car and then we upgrade it without changing any of its raw spec. So the same PP, the same power, the same weight, the same torque, everything is exactly stock, but we upgrade everything else that people can't tell, such as suspension, gearbox, etc., and see how much quicker we can make it. In the case of this car, quite a lot. Now I've gone for sports soft tyres. Obviously if you go for racing tyres the results will be even better, but even with sports tyres they're amazing. You want racing brakes. As far as suspension, we've lowered the ride height by 10mm, which still looks fairly close to stock, but the stock is 150, so you can go for that if you want to. Springs we've rounded up to 6 and 550, the dampers to 4, anti-roll to 3, neutral camber and toe. We'll come back to the gearbox in just a second. For the diff, we've got the lowest initial torque to keep the handling nice and loose, because the Delta does naturally have quite heavy steering. You want your acceleration and braking sensitivity as high as possible all round. For the torque distributing diff, you can go for whatever you want of course, but I've gone for 1090 for that same reason, to loosen up that front end. You don't want any power upgrades, no oil change, and obviously no weight upgrades either. As far as the gearbox, we've got an auto setting of 130. We do have an extra gear to play with as well, and then for the individual gears we've got 4.1, 2.9, 2.2, 1750, 1450 and 1250 with a final drive of 2.7. So that's it overall for this particular build for the Delta. Now let's take it out to the Nuremberg Ring to see what difference it makes. Now I'm always open to suggestions on this channel, so if you do have a suggestion that you think could improve the videos or the channel as a whole, feel free to slap that down in the comments or in a private message. I'm always open to new suggestions. Not saying I'll always do every suggestion, but I'm always open to them. And one of the suggestions that I had recently was to show the difference between the exact stock lap times of these cars and the Sleeper Spec lap time, just to show exactly how much quicker it makes it. So down in the description below you can find the exact times for the stock and tuned versions of this Delta. Now, remembering that this is a stock vehicle as far as power, weight, PP and torque, yet the Sleeper Spec build for this Delta made it 31 seconds quicker around the Nuremberg Ring. The stock lap time is 8 minutes and 56 seconds. With this build it went down to 8:25. Now that doesn't sound all that quick by Gran Turismo standards. Generally people tend to talk about 6-minute, 7-minute laps, but you have to remember this car is only a fraction above 400 pp. That's hardly anything for a performance car, and it's actually surprising that a Delta would have such a low pp. So bearing in mind just how low that pp is, this is actually a seriously quick machine. So for those of you who do decide to use this tune, obviously along with the person who requested it, obviously I hope you find it fun and indeed competitive for racing. And if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe to keep up with new builds like this and various others as soon as they're released. And if you have a request for a tune, doesn't have to be a Sleeper Spec build, but any tune in general, again, as with the suggestions, feel free to slap that down below and I'll consider it. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.